Okay, today I am exploring themes in early Romanticism. This one is a bit of a challenge because really the main thing that's connecting the Enlightenment, the early Romanticism works is the rejection of the Enlightenment's thinking in favor of romantic feeling. On my next slide, I have a lot of examples that we saw in the lecture that highlight how this is done in different ways. But generally, this painting inducing feeling is the main uniting force. A lot of this also includes psychological depictions. So we have nightmarish scenes, nostalgic scenes, landscape is used in the nostalgia and in spirituality, connecting the earthly, just the power of nature to induce emotional reaction. And yeah, that's my last bullet point there too. So the emotion inducing landscapes. So in one way or another, what your main takeaway should be is a feeling of emotion, some sort of reaction that is more than just capturing a scene for its, likeness. So here are four different examples because, like I said, this early romanticism is a little bit all over the map in terms of subject matter and painting styles. Like the brushwork in these is all very, very different. However, the connective tissue is the emotional inclination and turn towards feeling. So it's all achieved in different ways, and some of these have stronger messaging than other paintings. So starting with the oldest image is Newton, William Blake. So Blake is one of the is his art is what I chose this week to highlight. This is an interesting painting because it really clearly shows the difference between that push and pull of romantic, landscape feeling, the rock which he has his back turned against, towards scientific exploration, and how he's so in, invested in his studies that he's missing the natural beauty around him. We have one of my favorite artists is Turner, and really, really powerful landscape scenes. He achieves this emotional reaction through his dramatic landscapes and use of color, his brushwork. A lot of his scenes have nods towards the Industrial Revolution, like this scene here: rain, steam, and speed, the Great Western Railway. And, it's interesting that something that's this abstracted is also in the same realm of landscape art of John Constable, which is a much more closely, accurately depicted landscape. However, there's still an emotional tie with the sense of nostalgia for England pre-industrialization and holding on to that connection before it's lost. And lastly, I included the scene of the nightmare because I think it's relevant to, really emphasize that a lot of imagination is used in painting in early romantic works and in later romantic works. And a lot of these scenes could be incorporating literal visions from a nightmare. And as this is titled, The Nightmare, it's, both a classical story, but really a depiction that is kind of haunting and, yeah, very much emotionally invoking. Okay, so the work that I chose to focus on this week is by William Blake. This is called Ancient of Days, and it's from Frontispiece Europe, A Prophecy, 1794. I thought this work was really interesting because Blake himself, not a lot of romantic artwork or like British Romanticism is related to Christianity. So I think that Blake's focus and statements he makes on spiritualism is really interesting in terms of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment is really pushing for reason, and Blake is really critical of that. He thinks that reason is taking away from the spirituality of man, and that's a shame, So this is really, this depiction shows not a Christian God. It shows a God, a godlike figure, Urizen, who is associated with reason and law. He's creating the universe. He has this compass reaching out. He's leaning out from this orb in the sky. And it's just a really interesting tie to like some classical story and classical depiction of the body, like Michelangelo kind of referencing. But still a really strong messaging against the stifling nature that organized religion has. One interpretation I read that I really liked said that this orb was incomplete because a chunk of this perfect circle is removed to show that Urizen is incomplete without imagination. So for Blake, imagination and, a lot of other works we see throughout Romanticism or artists throughout Romanticism, imagination is at the forefront, is so special to these artists. So they really hold it dear. And I think that's really what this image is commenting on. Like other, figural scenes from Romanticism, there's a lot of dramatic movement with that wind sweeping through his hair. There's a lot of energy filling the composition. And really just, it has a strong emotion, but also strong messaging that is encouraging the viewer to lean into feeling and seeking a more personal connection versus just, relying on reason and what is given to you, which I think is a powerful statement and makes for a really interesting image, which I also read William Blake loved this image so much that it was one of the last things he painted in his, last days. So I think that says a lot to how he connects to this artwork as something that really captured his view on the world. And that's what a lot of these artists are attempting to do. It's not just painting, a commissioned portrait or a landscape. It's really showing a viewpoint, and that is cool. I like that. Here are my sources. And yeah, that's it for the themes in early Romanticism.